Hi, boys and girls. This is Ms. Kathy. I'm so happy you've joined me today for another story just for you. Chapter 9. Home at Last. Dave opened his mouth to reply, but just then the truck stopped and the back doors were thrown open. A lady in a white coat reached in to help Dave get Willie's stretcher out of the truck. "Hi, Willie," she said. "I'm Dr. Matthews. How are you doing?" "Okay," Willie answered, "but what about my grandpa?" She looked over at Dave. "It looks as if he'll be okay, too." Willie felt a little better, but he was confused. "How did you know my name?" he asked the doctor. "Why, don't you know? You're famous," she answered. "I heard about the search for you and your grandpa on the radio yesterday. Everyone's been looking for you." Willie smiled. As he raised his head, he saw his mom and dad standing on the other side of the glass hospital doors. Dad had an arm around Mom, and she was wiping her eyes with a big white handkerchief. After that, things got blurry for Willie. Bright lights in his eyes, white coats, Mom with a watery smile, medicine smells, a hard, narrow bed with a white paper sheet that crackled when he moved. 3 hours later, a nurse wheeled Willie out to the car. "But where's Grandpa?" Willie craned his neck to look behind him. "We have to wait for Grandpa." "Grandpa won't be coming home today," Dad said as he lifted Willie into the car. "He has to stay so the doctors can be sure he'll be okay. He'll be home in a day or two." "Are you sure he'll be okay? He won't die or anything, will he?" "Hey, where did you get that idea?" Dad replied as he slid behind the steering wheel. "Grandpa will be fine, but you didn't eat very well the last few days, and you didn't have much water. You're young and strong, but Grandpa's not, and remember, he has a broken arm, too." Willie was too tired to think any more, so he laid his head back against the seat and closed his eyes. When he woke up, the car was in the driveway at his house, and something was licking his face. He reached up and felt a wiggly, furry body. "Coco!" he exclaimed, hugging his brown and white dog. Later, after a big lunch, Willie snuggled down in bed with a smile on his face and Coco at his feet. And just before he fell asleep, he whispered, "Thank you for getting us rescued, Jesus. Thanks a lot." The next thing Willie knew, his mother's voice was calling. "Hey, sleepyhead," Mom said cheerfully. "Are you going to sleep all day today, too?" "Huh?" Willie opened one eye. It was daylight. "What do you mean? Is it tomorrow?" "Yes, it's tomorrow," Mom laughed. "Chris and Sammy called. They're coming over soon, so how about a bath and some breakfast?" When Chris and Sammy arrived, they wanted to hear all about the accident and what it was like down in the canyon, but Willie had questions of his own. "How did you find us?" he asked, looking at Chris. So Chris told about the search and how he and Sammy had looked and looked for him. "You were there too, Sammy?" Willie was surprised. "Of course he was there," Chris said. Sammy just smiled. "Who do you think wrote down your messages? I couldn't do everything." Willie interrupted. "But how did you get back so early the next morning?" "We never left," Sammy spoke softly. "What? You stayed all night?" "Well," Chris replied, "first Dad wanted to stay until the helicopter found you. He was talking on the radio to the pilot." Sammy continued the story. "And we just couldn't go home and leave you down there. We just couldn't. So we stayed," Chris said, "and we prayed for you." Sammy spoke up again. "Do you remember how we wondered if we could ever do anything real with the Morse code?" "Yeah," Willie said thoughtfully. "I've been thinking a lot about that." Soon the boys left, promising to come back in a few days, when Willie had caught up on his sleep and felt stronger. They came again 2 days later, bringing their Buttertub transmitters. For an hour they practiced the Morse code at the Taylor's kitchen table. "I wonder what time it is," Sammy said, stretching his arms in the air. "Seems like, you know." "Hold your horses," Chris said, grinning. "What are you guys talking about?" Willie asked. Just then, Willie's mom walked in with a puzzled look on her face. "What's the matter, Mom?" Willie asked. "I don't think anything is wrong," she replied slowly, "but someone from the sheriff's department just called to say they were on their way here."
The story you have heard today is a chapter of The Shoebox Kids, Book 8, The Rockslide Rescue, written by Sandy Zaug, edited and created by Jerry D. Thomas, and used with permission from the Pacific Press Publishing Association. If you're interested in any other books published by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, please visit AdventistBookCenter.com or call 1-800-765-6955.
This podcast is a production of the Carolina Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.